People will always have something to say. You're too loud, too opinionated, too ambitious, too emotional, too independent, too intense, too focused, too confident, too this, too that. The word too becomes a tool not of description but of control. It's society's way of saying, you don't fit into the box we made for you, and that scares us. But here's the truth I've learned through experience, bruises, and battles. Being too much isn't a flaw. It's your power, your uniqueness, your gift, and if someone tells you otherwise, it's not because you need to shrink, it's because they don't know how to expand themselves to meet your presence. I've been told I'm too driven, that I take up too much space in a room, that I need to soften myself, smile more, speak less. I've walked into meetings where my opinions were ignored until they were repeated by someone else. I've seen people recoil from confidence in women as if it's an act of aggression. But here's what I learned: being too much only threatens people who are not ready for your light. That doesn't mean you dim it, that means you shine brighter, you lead with it. Being too much means you are visible in a world that's trained you to be invisible. Especially if you're a woman, especially if you come from somewhere unconventional or carry a voice they weren't expecting. The moment you start breaking molds, people panic. They try to press pause on your momentum. They label you, and those labels are designed to keep you in place, not because you're not good enough, but because you're becoming impossible to ignore. Let's call it what it is: fear, not yours, theirs. Your passion makes them uncomfortable. Your refusal to settle disturbs their sense of order. Your excellence highlights their mediocrity. Your energy disrupts systems built on silence and obedience. And when people can't match your fire, they'll try to douse it. So they say too much, as if it's an insult, but it's not. It's a sign that you're stepping into your full self unapologetically. Being too much means you care deeply, love passionately, and dream wildly. It means you're not playing small just to make other people feel comfortable, and that takes guts, because shrinking is easy. Playing it safe is expected, but living boldly, that's revolutionary. That's where greatness lives. And greatness by nature is disruptive. Let me tell you something: the people who changed the world were always considered too much before they were called iconic. Think of any woman who stood up for something, who led a movement, who dared to speak when it was easier to stay quiet. She was always told to calm down, tone it down, fit in, but she didn't, and because of that we remember her name. So when someone tells you you're too ambitious, smile, because that means your goals scare them. When they say you're too emotional, it means your ability to connect deeply is something they've lost. If they call you too confident, it means you're challenging the narrative that power doesn't belong to people like you. Let them talk, let them whisper, let them ignore you. You don't need their validation to be worthy. There's a difference between being arrogant and being self-aware. Knowing your worth isn't arrogance, it's clarity. And when you're clear about who you are, the world has no choice but to notice. You don't need to apologize for being driven. You don't need to make yourself smaller to make someone else feel taller. You don't owe the world softness just so it can digest your strength. I've spent years learning this lesson the hard way, by silencing myself to make others feel heard, by questioning my voice in rooms I worked hard to be in. But every time I dimmed my light to suit someone else's comfort, I lost a piece of myself, until one day I stopped. I decided that I'd rather be too much and fully alive than just enough and slowly fading. You are not here to be agreeable. You are here to be extraordinary. You are not here to shrink. You are here to expand, and you are not too much. You are enough exactly as you are: vibrant, fierce, capable, brilliant. The world doesn't need you to be less. The world needs more people who are willing to be too much, because that's where the revolution begins. So take up space, speak up, show up, let your presence be undeniable. Because every time you own who you are, fully and without apology, you give permission to someone else to do the same, and that's real power. Rejection stings, it's uncomfortable. It makes you question yourself, your choices, your worth. And when it keeps happening, whether it's a job you didn't get, a role that passed you over, a friendship that faded, or someone telling you that you're not what they're looking for, it starts to feel personal. Like you're the problem, like you're not enough. But the truth is, rejection often has nothing to do with you. More often than not, it's someone else's projection, their fear, their insecurity, their narrow lens being placed on you. When someone can't see your value, that doesn't make you less valuable. It just means they don't have the vision to recognize it, and that's about them, not you. You might be rejected because your ambition threatens their comfort, because your confidence highlights their doubt, because your energy reminds them of what they gave up on. So they say no, not because you're unworthy, but because your presence exposes something in them they haven't faced. I've experienced this firsthand. When I tried to enter new spaces, especially beyond my home country, I was met with doubt, hesitation, even silence. I was told I didn't fit the mold, that I was too ethnic, that my accent was too strong, or that I wasn't right for the market. They weren't rejecting my talent, they were rejecting what they didn't understand. They were projecting their fear of change, of difference, of disruption, and for a moment I believed them. I thought maybe they were right. Maybe I was aiming too high, trying to be too much in a space that wasn't made for someone like me. But then I realized, how could they define my limits when they don't even know my story? People will judge you through the filter of their own experience, their biases, their wounds, their comfort zones. Rejection often says more about their limitations than it does about your potential. You could be the most brilliant light in the room, and still, someone might look away not because you aren't shining, but because they're not ready to see. Maybe they've lived in darkness so long, your light blinds them. We've been conditioned to take rejection personally, to let it define us. But what if we flipped the narrative? What if we stopped asking, "What's wrong with me?" and started asking, "What's going on with them?" That shift can change everything. Because then you stop internalizing rejection and start understanding it. You stop shrinking from it and start learning from it. Sometimes rejection is simply redirection, a path being cleared for something better. A door closing not because you're unworthy, but because you're not meant to be contained in that space. Here's something powerful. The more true you are to yourself, the more rejection you may face. That's the price of authenticity. When you stop molding yourself to fit expectations, some people will walk away. Some opportunities will fall through. Not everyone will get you, and that's okay, because you're not here to be universally accepted. You're here to be fully yourself, and the people, the roles, the opportunities that are meant for the real you will never require you to shrink. Sometimes rejection is also projection of fear, especially from people who never dared to chase their own dreams. You tell them you want to be a filmmaker, a CEO, an astronaut, a writer, and they flinch, not because you can't, but because they never tried. Your courage reminds them of their regret, and instead of saying, "Wow, go for it," they say, "Be realistic." That's not advice. That's fear talking. Don't let someone else's fear become your compass. And yes, sometimes rejection is protection. You don't see it in the moment, but later you realize that job would have stifled your creativity. That relationship would have dimmed your spirit. That opportunity wasn't aligned with your values, but because you were rejected, you stayed available for something better, something truer. Rejection has a strange way of guiding us painfully at first, but wisely in the long run. The key is not to take it to heart. Take it in stride. Allow it to build your resilience, not break your spirit. When rejection comes, don't collapse. Reflect. Learn, grow, but don't you dare let it make you smaller. Don't let it make you doubt what you know in your gut, because your path is yours alone, and every no brings you closer to the yes that was meant for you. The people who truly see you, who recognize your fire, your drive, your worth, they won't need convincing. They won't project, they'll protect, they'll nurture, they'll align with your frequency. And that's when you'll realize that all the rejection was never rejection at all. It was redirection, preparation, calibration. So the next time you're rejected, don't lower your gaze, lift your head. Know that your value isn't defined by who says yes or no to you. Your value is yours, permanent and untouchable. You are not the rejection. You are the rise that comes after it. Always remember this. Rejection isn't personal. It's often projection, and what they see or fail to see says nothing about who you are becoming. There's something powerful about being different, something magnetic even, but let's be honest, it doesn't always feel that way. Sometimes being unique feels lonely, it feels isolating. You walk into a room and sense the shift. The looks, the doubt, the curiosity masked as judgment. It's subtle sometimes, and other times it's loud. People don't always celebrate what they don't understand. And when you're truly standing in your authenticity, when you walk with your own rhythm, when you don't blend in, that can shake people. Your uniqueness threatens the comfort of sameness, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, that's exactly why you must never hide it. People are wired to seek familiarity. It's human nature. We feel safer around what looks like us, talks like us, thinks like us. So when someone walks in and challenges that pattern, when you walk in with your different story, your different energy, your different way of being, it can unsettle people. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you represent something they haven't fully understood, accepted, or even allowed in themselves. I've lived this, walking into boardrooms, film sets, press rooms, being the only woman of color, the only one with my accent, my skin, my culture, my perspective. And the truth is, I wasn't always welcomed with open arms. I was studied, questioned, boxed. People wanted to make sense of me using their limited framework, but I didn't come to fit a frame, I came to break it. The thing about being unique is that it disrupts expectations, and people often don't like being disrupted. It's easier for them if you follow the script. It's safer for them if you play the role they wrote for you. But the moment you say, no, I have my own script, that's when they get uncomfortable, that's when the resistance starts, and you might start questioning yourself, am I too different? Should I tone it down? No. Absolutely not. The discomfort others feel around your uniqueness is not your burden to carry. It's their work to do. You are not here to be a copy. You are not here to be digestible for everyone. You are not here to water yourself down so the world can sip you slowly. You are here to take up space fully, confidently, unapologetically. Think about every trailblazer, every icon, every revolutionary artist, leader, thinker. They didn't fit in. That's what made them unforgettable. At first, they were misunderstood, even mocked. Their ideas were too bold. Their presence was too much. Their style, their voice, their truth too out there. But eventually the world caught up. And suddenly, the very things they were criticized for became the things they were celebrated for. Your uniqueness is your signature. It's what sets you apart in a sea of sameness. It's your DNA spiritually, creatively, emotionally. No one else in this world can offer exactly what you do in the way you do it. That's not just special, that's powerful, and yes, power makes people uncomfortable. But if you're not making someone uncomfortable, you're probably not doing anything groundbreaking. There will be people who try to change you, who will say, this is how it's done, or we've never seen someone like you succeed here. And when they say that, what they really mean is, we've never had to make space for someone like you, and we don't know how to handle it. But guess what? That's not your problem. You're not here to fit their mold. You're here to remind them that molds can break. The truth is, your uniqueness will reveal a lot, not just about who you are, but about who others are. Some people will rise with you, others will resist you, but you don't need everyone to get it. You just need the courage to keep going even when they don't, especially when they don't. Sometimes people won't clap for you. That doesn't mean you're not worthy of applause. It just means they're still trying to process what you represent. You might remind them of a part of themselves they buried, or a dream they let go of, or a truth they've never had the courage to live. That's the ripple effect of being authentic. It stirs the waters around you. And yes, that might create waves, but waves are how you reach the shore. So stand tall in who you are, even when your voice trembles, even when the room goes silent, even when they say you don't belong. Because the truth is you do belong, not just in the spaces that embrace you, but especially in the ones that don't. Your presence there is the proof that the space is evolving. Being unique is not a burden. It's not something to fix. It's a gift and a responsibility. The world doesn't need more copies. It needs originals. People bold enough to be themselves in full color, even when the world is asking for grayscale. So if your uniqueness threatens people, good, let it. That means you're doing something real. That means you're waking things up. That means you're alive, and that right there is your power. There's something haunting about silence, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that fills a room after you've been overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. The kind that happens after the rejection, after the door closes, after the phone stops ringing. It's tempting to believe that silence is the end, that if no one is calling your name, you must not be worthy of attention. That if you're not being seen or heard, maybe you've lost your place. But here's the truth. Silence isn't the end. It's the setup. The universe doesn't work in noise alone. Sometimes the silence is preparing you for your loudest, most undeniable return. We live in a world obsessed with momentum, constantly on display, constantly speaking, constantly moving. But real power doesn't always live in motion. Sometimes it gathers in stillness. The most iconic comebacks, the most powerful redemptions, they don't begin with applause. They begin in silence. They begin in those quiet moments where no one is watching and you choose not to give up. When you decide to grow, even when no one is cheering. When you keep showing up for yourself, even when the world forgets your name. I know what it's like to be written off, to be told you've peaked, that your time is over, that your moment has passed. I know what it feels like to walk into a room and sense that people have already made up their minds about you. They don't expect anything more from you. They think the story has been written. They've decided your ending without giving you the courtesy of a new chapter. That's where silence becomes your weapon. Because while they're looking away, you're building. While they're doubting you, you're sharpening your skill. While they're forgetting you, you're remembering who you are. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's recalibration, and when used right, it's the perfect foundation for a comeback so loud, so bold, so unexpected, they won't know what hit them. See, people love to underestimate you. They love to write the narrative for you, especially if you're someone who challenges the norm. Especially if you're different, outspoken, passionate, relentless. They'll call your quiet seasons failure, but they have no idea that in your silence, you're becoming stronger, more focused, more aligned. They think silence means surrender, but it can also mean strategy. It can mean you're stepping back, not to quit, but to return with fire they never saw coming. Every champion has had their moment in the shadows. Every trailblazer has been counted out. The best stories are not the ones where everything worked out on the first try. They're the ones where someone fell, disappeared, got silenced, and then made a return so powerful it became part of their legend. That's what silence can be, the breath before the roar. The world has a short memory for success, and an even shorter attention span for women who don't conform. One moment they're celebrating you, the next they're erasing you. That's when silence becomes dangerous, not because it breaks you, but because it gives you room to rebuild yourself on your terms. You don't have to broadcast your every move. You don't have to defend your quiet. You don't need to explain your stillness. Some growth is private, some preparation is sacred, and some comebacks need that element of surprise, the power of showing up again when they thought you wouldn't. Not because you needed to prove them wrong, but because you always knew you were never done. Silence gives you space to reimagine, space to reflect, space to rest, and let's not forget that rest is also resistance. In a world that demands you constantly hustle, taking time to breathe, to pause, to fall back for a moment is radical. It means you value yourself beyond performance. It means you're preparing, not reacting. And when you do come back, it won't be with noise. It will be with impact, because when you've done the work in silence, your return speaks louder than anything you could have said. You won't need to announce your power, it'll be felt. You won't need to beg for recognition, your results will demand it. They'll wonder where you were, how you got stronger, how you didn't just survive but evolved. That's the magic of a quiet season well spent. It turns doubt into fuel, rejection into clarity, and invisibility into your runway. So don't fear the silence, embrace it, use it. Let it be the space where you regroup, recalibrate, and rise, because when silence is your setup, your comeback isn't just louder, it's unstoppable. Let them talk, let them move on, let them forget. You're not gone, you're loading, and when the moment comes, you won't just return, you'll rise higher than they ever imagined. Confidence is magnetic. It turns heads. It commands a room, but let's not pretend it's always welcomed. The truth is, when you walk into a space fully owning who you are unapologetically, without shrinking, without explaining, not everyone will clap for you. Confidence unsettles people, especially if you're someone who's not supposed to be confident because of your background, your gender, your appearance, your accent, your silence, your presence. But none of that should stop you. Build it anyway. Confidence is not arrogance. It's not loudness. It's not about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's knowing you don't have to prove your worth because you've already claimed it. And that kind of self-assurance, it threatens the insecurities of those who haven't yet done the work to find their own. From a young age, especially as women, we're taught to be nice, humble, soft. We're taught that being liked is more important than being real. That confidence should be packaged in apology, that if we stand too tall, we might make others feel small, and somewhere along the way, we start associating confidence with danger as if it's something to keep in check. But it's not. Confidence is not the problem. The problem is a world that isn't used to seeing power in places it didn't expect it. You don't have to tone yourself down so others feel comfortable. You don't have to dilute your brilliance so others can digest it. You don't have to hide your fire to make the room feel warm. If your confidence makes someone uncomfortable, let it. That discomfort is not your responsibility to fix. It's their invitation to grow. Think about it. No one questions confidence in a man. It's expected, praised, rewarded. But when a woman, or anyone who doesn't fit the default mold, stands up and owns their space, suddenly they're too much, too bold, too full of themselves. What they really mean is, you're making me confront my own self. Doubt, and I don't like it. But that's not your battle. Your only job is to show up as fully yourself as you possibly can. Confidence doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you keep showing up despite it. It's built through repetition, resilience, and refusal to shrink. You build it every time you speak up in a meeting when your voice shakes. Every time you walk into a room where no one looks like you and still hold your head high. Every time you say no to what doesn't align. Every time you take the risk, make the ask, own your work, and stand behind your choices. Confidence is muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And yes, the stronger it gets, the more you'll be tested. People will try to chip away at it. They'll question your qualifications, your motives, your right to be there. Not because you don't belong, but because your presence reminds them of everything they haven't allowed themselves to become. That's not a reflection of you. That's a mirror they haven't dared to look into. I've felt this firsthand. In every industry I've stepped into, entertainment, business, philanthropy, there's always someone waiting to put you in your place. To remind you of where you came from, to suggest you're only in the room because of luck or timing or novelty. But I've learned this. Confidence is not about shouting over those voices. It's about refusing to internalize them. You don't need to explain your success. You don't need to justify your ambition. You don't owe anyone comfort at the cost of your confidence. Some people will only accept you if you stay small enough not to challenge their sense of superiority. But smallness is not your purpose. You were not born to tiptoe through life, hoping not to disturb the status quo. You were born to lead, to create, to stand tall in rooms that were never built for you and change them just by being there. And here's the thing, real confidence isn't loud or showy. It's rooted, grounded, quietly powerful. It's the kind of presence that doesn't need validation because it comes from within. It says, I know who I am, I know what I bring, and whether you see it or not doesn't change that truth. So build your confidence, not to impress, not to dominate, but to live fully and freely in your truth. Build it in the quiet moments, in the setbacks, in the solitude. Build it when no one's watching. And when they finally do, they'll realize you never needed their permission to rise. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them whisper. Let them doubt. You just keep standing, keep speaking, keep building. Because confidence may rattle the room, but it also redefines it. And in a world that is constantly trying to make you question yourself, your confidence is your revolution. Not everyone is going to understand you. Not everyone will like you, get you, support you, or see your vision. And you know what? That's not just okay, that's the point. You were never meant to be universally accepted. You are not for everyone, and trying to be will only water down everything that makes you powerful in the first place. We live in a culture obsessed with approval. Social media has turned validation into a currency: likes, follows, comments, applause. And if you're not careful, you'll start measuring your worth based on how digestible you are to the masses. But the truth is, if everyone agrees with you, it probably means you're not saying anything real. If no one is uncomfortable, you're probably not growing. And if everyone loves you, you're probably not challenging anything. Being truly yourself, raw, unfiltered, honest, comes at a cost. You will lose people. Some will walk away because your presence disrupts their narrative. Some will criticize you because your authenticity reminds them of the masks they're still wearing. And some will just not vibe with you, and that's perfectly fine. Compatibility is not a requirement for self-worth. Being understood by everyone is not a prerequisite for greatness. You are not a product for mass consumption. You are a complex, evolving human being. You carry layers, history, flaws, brilliance. You carry stories that some people won't relate to, and that's not a problem. That's diversity, that's texture. That's what makes your existence meaningful. Imagine how boring this world would be if we were all trying to be the same, if every voice sounded alike, if every mind thought alike, if every soul behaved alike. Your difference is not a flaw, it's your fingerprint, and yes, the more you step into who you truly are, the more you'll feel the friction, the tension. People might call you difficult, too opinionated, too loud, too intense, too ambitious. What they really mean is you're not easy to control. And that's something to be proud of. You don't need to be everyone's cup of tea. You don't need to fit in every room. You don't need to be liked by every crowd. In fact, if you're doing it right, there will be rooms you outgrow. There will be conversations you no longer belong in. There will be people who loved the older version of you, the quieter one, the more agreeable one who won't know what to do with the newer, stronger, more aligned version. Let them go. Let them misunderstand you. You're not here to shrink so people stay comfortable. Growth is not supposed to be universally accepted. Vision isn't supposed to be understood by everyone. That's why it's yours. That's why it's personal. That's why it's powerful. When you stop trying to be for everyone, you start attracting those who are truly for you, the ones who see your fire and don't try to dim it, the ones who hear your voice and want to amplify it, not silence it, the ones who get you not because you're convenient, but because you're real. Those are your people. That is your tribe. That is your alignment. And let's not forget some of the most iconic, game-changing people in history were disliked, doubted, dismissed, even hated in their time. Not because they were wrong, but because they were early, because they dared to be different, because they refused to play small. Your uniqueness is not always going to be welcomed. That doesn't mean it's wrong. That just means it's ahead. So stop editing yourself to make people comfortable. Stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never designed for your full self. Stop apologizing for the way you think, speak, love, lead, dream. You don't owe the world palatability. You owe it authenticity. You owe it truth. You owe it the fullest, fiercest version of yourself. There is power in not being for everyone. It means you're standing for something. It means you're not afraid to have an identity. It means you've drawn a line in the sand and said, "This is who I am." And that kind of clarity is rare. That kind of boldness is magnetic. That kind of courage changes lives, starting with your own. You are not here to blend in. You are here to stand out, to be real, to be bold, to be beautifully, unapologetically you. So let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them judge. You're not for everyone, and you were never supposed to be. Because the truth is, the people who are truly meant for you, they won't just tolerate your authenticity. They will celebrate it. They will rise with it. And together you'll build something deeper than approval. You'll build connection, purpose, legacy, and that is everything.